the woman who knew me better than anyone else in the world was the one who signed the document that put a target on my back. My wife, my partner, the woman who once promised she would trust me with her life. Sophia Carter looked across the FBI con. Ethan Black may no longer be one of us. Nobody spoke. For 3 seconds, the room was completely silent. Not the comfortable kind of silence. The kind that comes right before something breaks. I wasn't supposed to be in that room. I was 8 years deep undercover inside one of the most dangerous criminal organizations in the country. My name on paper was Ethan Black. But inside that world, nobody knew me by that name. They knew me as Ghost, the man who never smiled, the man who never hesitated, the man criminals trusted because they thought I was one of them. The irony was almost funny. I spent 8 years convincing criminals that I was a monster. And then my own wife convinced the FBI. Are you saying Agent Black has compromised his identity? Director Hayes asked. Sophia didn't look away. She never did when she believed she was right. Yes, her voice was calm, professional, controlled. The same voice she used when analyzing serial killers. The same voice she used when explaining why someone was dangerous. Only this time, she was talking about me. The behavioral patterns are consistent with an agent who has crossed the line. She continued. A few people shifted in their seats. Someone whispered, "His wife is the one making the assessment." Sophia heard it. She ignored it. That was Sophia. Once she reached a conclusion, facts became everything. Feelings became irrelevant. Even ours. 7 years earlier, Sophia was the first person who saw past the walls I built around myself. Everyone else saw a cold FBI agent. She saw the exhausted man who forgot to eat when he worked too long. She saw the nightmares I never talked about. She saw the scars on my back and never asked where they came from. She just touched them gently and said, "You don't have to carry everything alone." I believed her. Maybe that was my biggest mistake. Because Ethan Black, the FBI agent who could read a suspect's body language in seconds, failed to notice his ow. The first sign was small, almost invisible. Sophia started asking different questions. Questions she never asked before. How much of your undercover identity is real? How do I know the man who comes home is actually my husband? At first, I thought it was stress. Her job was built around deception. Every day, she studied criminals who lied for a living. I understood why she struggled. So I did what I always did. I protected her. I kept quiet. I reassured her. I told her, "Sophia, some things I can't tell you, but you have to know one thing." "What?" "I would never betray you." She looked at me for a long time. Then she smiled. But something was missing. Trust. The person who changed everything was Victor Hale, Sophia's former mentor, a respected FBI consultant, a man everyone admired, including me. That was the part that still bothered me. Victor wasn't some obvious villain. He didn't threaten people. He didn't raise his voice. He didn't need to. He was the kind of man who remembered everyone's birthday. The kind who brought coffee to exhausted agents. The kind who sat beside you and made you feel like you were the only person in the room. And somehow, that made him more dangerous. 3 days before the meeting, Sophia came home after midnight. She didn't remove her coat. She didn't kiss me. She just stood near the doorway. "Ethan." I looked up from the kitchen table. "What's wrong?" She held a folder in her hand. "Thick one. Too thick." "What is that?" Her fingers tightened around it. "I need you to answer something." "Okay." She took a breath. "Are you still working for the FBI?" The question hit harder than any bullet ever had. I stared at her. "Sophia, just answer me." "Yes." She looked down. Not relieved. Not convinced. That was when I knew. Something had already happened. Someone had already gotten to her. "What did Victor tell you?" Her expression changed. Just slightly. But I noticed. Because I knew her. Or at least, I thought I did. "Why would you ask about Victor?" "Because he's the only person who could make you question me." She looked hurt. Almost offended. "You think he's manipulating me?" "I think someone is. And you think that someone is him. I think you need to be careful. For the first time in our marriage." Sophia looked at me like I was a stranger. The next morning, she submitted the report. The report that would remove my protection. The report that would tell my enemies. Ghost was actually Ethan Black, an FBI agent, a traitor, target. I didn't know about the report when it happened. I was inside a warehouse, 3 floors underground, surrounded by men who would kill me without hesitation if they knew the truth. My phone vibrated. A message appeared. Unknown number. 1 sentence. Only one. But it was enough. Your cover is blown. I stared at the screen. My instincts took over. I checked exits, windows, weapons, people, everything. But there was only one question in my head. Who exposed me? Who knew? Then another message arrived. A photo. A screenshot of an FBI document. At the bottom was a signature I knew better than my own. Sophia Carter. My wife. My heartbeat slowed. Not because I was afraid, because I finally understood. The person who destroyed my cover was the person I spent 8 years protecting. And before I could process it, the warehouse door opened, and someone shouted my real name, Ethan Black. The worst part about being betrayed wasn't the pain. It wasn't the fear. It wasn't knowing that someone wanted me dead. The worst part was realizing the person who hurt me didn't think she was hurting me. Sophia thought she was saving the world. She thought she was doing the right thing. And somehow, that made it hurt even more. The warehouse door slammed open. I didn't move. 8 years undercover taught me one important lesson. Panic gets people killed. The moment the men walked in, I counted them. 6, 2 near the entrance, 1 carrying a rifle, 3 spreading out. Their movements were too organized, too confident. They weren't here to negotiate. They knew exactly who they were looking for. One of them stepped forward. A man I knew, Marcus Vale, Victor Hale's right-hand man inside the organization. He smiled when he saw me. Not an angry smile, not a revenge smile, a satisfied one. Well, he looked around the warehouse. Ghost finally has a real name. Nobody said anything. My hand slowly moved away from my weapon, because I already knew. The moment they learned who I was, the mission changed. I wasn't an undercover agent anymore. I was a target. Who told you? I asked. Marcus tilted his head. Does it matter? Yes. His smile widened. Because you want to know who betrayed you. A cold feeling went through my chest. Not because of Marcus, because I already knew. There was only one person who had access to everything. My identity, my cover, my psychological profile, my mission history. Sophia. I hated that my mind went there. I tried to reject it. I told myself, no, not her. Anyone else. But not Sophia. The woman who slept beside me for 7 years. The woman who knew every scar on my body. The woman who held my hand after my first mission injury. She couldn't be the one. She wouldn't. Marcus walked closer. You know what's funny about you, Ethan? I said nothing. You spent years pretending to be a criminal. He smiled. But you never learned how criminals think. I stared at him. And how do criminals think? They don't trust anyone. A pause. Not even their wives. That sentence hit harder than it should have. Because deep down, I knew something was wrong. Sophia didn't wake up one morning and decide I was a traitor. Someone convinced her. Someone planted doubt. Someone gave her a reason to question everything. And there was only one person who knew exactly how to manipulate her. Victor Hale. I escaped the warehouse. Barely. By the time I reached the safe location, my phone had already been wiped. My FBI contacts were gone. My emergency channels were disabled. My entire identity had disappeared. 8 years of work, gone overnight. But I wasn't thinking about the mission. I wasn't thinking about the criminals hunting me. I was thinking about one question. Why didn't Sophia ask me? She could have called. She could have confronted me. She could have said, Ethan, someone gave me evidence against you. Explain. I would have understood. I would have forgiven her, because she was my wife, because I loved her. But she didn't ask. She investigated me. She judged me, and she signed the report. I finally reached the encrypted phone. There was one number I could still call. Sophia. My finger hovered over the screen. I don't know how long I stared at it. 5 seconds, 30 seconds, maybe longer, because calling her meant accepting something I wasn't ready to accept. That the woman I loved might already have chosen someone else's truth over mine. She answered after 3 rings. Ethan. Her voice. Just hearing her voice almost broke me. For a moment, I was back home, back in our kitchen, back to normal. Then I remembered. She was the reason I was running. Sophia. Silence. Where are you? I closed my eyes. Not, are you okay? Not, did someone hurt you? The first thing she asked was where I was. Like I was already the suspect. I need you to listen to me. Ethan. No, please. My voice became lower. Just this once. Another silence. I need you to believe me. I heard her breathe. Then she said something I never expected. I don't know who you are anymore. Everything stopped. The room. The noise. Even my own heartbeat. What? I want to believe you. Her voice cracked. But she continued. I really do. I gripped the phone tighter. Then believe me. I can't. 3 words. 3 words that hurt more than any bullet. Sophia. I'm sorry. No. I whispered. Don't say sorry. Because sorry meant she already made a choice. You don't understand what you're doing. Maybe I do. No. I shook my head. Even though she couldn't see me. You don't. A long pause. Then she said, I hope you're wrong. I froze. Because I understood. She wasn't hoping I was safe. She was hoping I was innocent. There was a difference. The line went quiet. Then I heard something. A sound in the background. Someone else was there. Sophia. No answer. Sophia. Who is with you? A few seconds passed. Then Victor spoke. Calm. Gentle. Almost kind. Ethan. My blood went cold. Victor. I wish things had been different. I stared at the phone. You did this. A small sigh. No. Ethan. His voice remained calm. You did. The call ended. A second later, a gunshot exploded behind me. I turned. Too late. Pain tore through my shoulder. I hit the ground. The phone slipped from my hand. The last thing I saw before darkness came was the screen lighting up. One message. From Sophia. Only 4 words. Please don't make this worse. And that was the moment I finally understood. I wasn't losing my life because my enemies found me. I was losing my life because the woman I loved had already decided I was guilty. People always say death changes everything. They were wrong. Death doesn't change anything. It reveals everything. Because when someone is gone, people finally stop pretending. And I learned something after everyone thought I was dead. Some people mourn the person you were. Some people mourn the person they lost. And some people finally realize they destroyed the only person who never gave up on them. For 3 months, the world believed Ethan Black was dead. The FBI officially listed me as missing in action. The media called me a compromised agent. The criminals I spent 8 years infiltrating celebrated. To them, Ghost was gone. A traitor who got what he deserved. But there was one person who knew exactly what happened. Sophia Carter. My wife. The woman whose signature started everything. I watched the footage from a secure FBI facility. Not because I wanted revenge. At least, that was what I told myself. The truth was harder to admit. I wanted to know if she regretted it. I wanted to know if the woman who once promised to trust me still cared. The screen showed Sophia walking into my memorial service. She looked different. Not like the confident FBI profiler who stood in that conference room. Not like the woman who calmly signed my report. She looked exhausted, broken. Her hands were shaking, but she hid them. Sophia always hid pain well. That was what made her dangerous. She could analyze everyone else's emotions, but she never allowed anyone to see hers. Director Hayes stood beside my photograph. A black frame, a small American flag, a name. That was all that remained. Agent Ethan Black served this country with honor. The words sounded strange, because 3 months ago, those same people questioned whether I deserved to wear the badge. Sophia stood in the front row. She didn't cry, not at first. She just stared at my picture, like she was waiting for me to walk through the door, like some part of her still believed this was a mistake. After the ceremony ended, she stayed behind. Everyone left, everyone except her. She walked closer to my picture. Then she whispered something. I couldn't hear it, but I read her lips. I'm sorry. I looked away, because hearing those words hurt more than I expected. Sorry was easy. Trust was harder. And she had chosen not to trust me. 2 weeks later, something changed. Sophia requested access to my final mission files. First, the FBI denied her request. The case was classified, but she insisted. She argued. She pushed. That was Sophia. When she believed something was wrong, she never stopped. The same stubbornness that once made her brilliant was now forcing her to uncover what she had done. I watched her enter the archive room. A single folder waited on the table. My final operation. My last report. Sophia opened it carefully. First, her expression was neutral. Then she turned the page and froze because she saw something she was never supposed to see. A handwritten note. My handwriting. The one she knew better than anyone. The note said, "If this operation fails, protect Sophia Carter before anyone else." She stopped breathing. I could see it. The way her fingers tightened around the paper. The way her eyes moved across the sentence again and again. Like reading it multiple times would somehow change the meaning. Didn't. I wrote that 3 days before she reported me. 3 days before she destroyed my cover. 3 days before everyone thought I died. I was still thinking about protecting her. The next file was even worse. My personal contingency plan. Inside were instructions. My emergency contacts. My insurance information. My private notes. Everything a husband would leave behind if he knew he might never come home. Sophia turned the page. Then she saw the title. The one I had written myself. For Sophia. If I don't return. That was when she broke. Not dramatically. Not like movies. Sophia didn't scream. She didn't collapse. She just sat there, holding the pages. And for the first time, the woman who could read every criminal in the world looked completely lost, because she finally understood something. I wasn't hiding a second life from her. I wasn't betraying her. I was protecting her the entire time, but she still didn't know the truth. She didn't know Victor Hale had built the lie. She didn't know I was alive, and she didn't know the biggest secret of all. I wasn't the only one watching. Someone else had been waiting for her to find those files. Someone who knew exactly what she would do next. Victor Hale. And 3 months after my death, Sophia finally started asking the right questions. The problem was, the answers were going to destroy everything she believed. The first time Sophia saw me after my death, she didn't say my name. She didn't run toward me. She didn't ask if I was hurt. She just stood there, frozen, like her mind was fighting against what her eyes were seeing. Because according to her, I was supposed to be dead. The safe house was silent. Too silent. I had spent 3 months recovering in a classified FBI facility. 3 months learning how to sleep without waking up reaching for a weapon. 3 months watching the woman I loved discover pieces of the truth I wanted to tell her myself. But I wasn't ready for this. Not because I was afraid of Sophia, because I was afraid of what I would feel when I saw her again. The door opened. Sophia stepped inside. For a moment, neither of us moved. She looked exactly like the woman I remembered, and completely different. Her hair was shorter. There were dark circles under her eyes. She looked like someone who hadn't slept properly in months, someone who had been carrying a weight too heavy for her. Then her eyes found mine, and everything stopped. Ethan. Her voice broke. Just my name. Nothing else. I waited. I don't know what I expected. Maybe an explanation. Maybe an apology. Maybe anger. But what I saw was something I had never seen from Sophia before. Fear. Real fear. She took one step forward, then another. I thought. Her voice disappeared. She swallowed. I thought you were dead. I looked at her, and for a second, the old Ethan almost answered. The man who would have crossed any distance to hold her. The man who would have told her, "I'm okay. Don't cry. I'm here." But that man was gone. I know. Those 2 words stopped her. Because they weren't what she expected. She wiped her eyes. You know. I nodded. I know you thought I was dead. A pause. Then I said, "But that's not what happened." Her expression changed. "What do you mean?" I looked directly at her. "You didn't lose me." Sophia. Silence. "You decided I was guilty." She stepped back, like I had physically pushed her. "No." Her voice was quiet. "No. Ethan, that's not fair. Isn't it?" I didn't raise my voice. I didn't need to. That was the difference between now and before. Before, I would have tried to convince her. Now, I just wanted her to hear the truth. You had my phone number. She looked down. You had my trust. A pause. You had 7 years of knowing exactly who I was. My voice became softer. And you still believed someone else. Sophia's eyes filled with tears. I was trying to protect people. I know. That answer surprised her. Because she expected anger, hatred, punishment. But I didn't hate her. That would have been easier. I know you thought you were doing the right thing. I looked away. But good intentions don't erase what happened. She covered her mouth. For the first time, I saw her understand. Not intellectually, emotionally. She finally understood the difference. She didn't betray me because she wanted me dead. She betrayed me because she believed she knew me. And she was wrong. Who saved you? The question came suddenly. I looked back at her. What? You were alive. Her eyes searched mine. Someone knew. A pause. Someone knew the truth. I didn't answer immediately, because she was right. Someone did know. Someone inside the FBI. Someone who moved pieces before anyone realized there was a game. Victor. Her face changed. Only slightly, but I saw it. That tiny hesitation. That tiny moment of doubt. The same doubt I had seen 3 months earlier. Only now, it was pointed in another direction. You think Victor did this? I don't think. I stepped closer. I know someone wanted you to believe a lie. Sophia shook her head. No. She whispered. No. Victor helped me. There it was. The final piece. The reason this worked. Not because Victor was smarter than everyone. Because Sophia trusted him. I looked at her. The man you trusted spent years studying you. She frowned. What are you saying? I'm saying he knew exactly what to show you. Silence. Exactly what to hide. Another step. And exactly what you would do. Sophia stared at me. And for the first time, I saw fear replace certainty. The same fear I had felt when I saw her signature on that document. Because she finally realized something. The person who had convinced her that I was dangerous might have been the most dangerous person in the room. Before she could answer, my phone rang. Secure line. The number was classified. I answered immediately. Black. The voice on the other end was Director Hayes. His tone was serious. Agent Black. We found something. I looked at Sophia. What? A pause. Then Hayes said, the person who leaked your identity wasn't only trying to expose you. My grip tightened around the phone. What else? Another pause. Agent Black. His voice lowered. They were trying to make sure you disappeared permanently. I looked at Sophia. She looked back at me. And in that moment, we both realized the same thing. My death was never the plan. My death was the cover-up. Sophia spent her entire career studying criminals. She learned how people lied, how they manipulated, how they hid their intentions behind carefully chosen words. But there was one thing she never learned: how to recognize the truth when it was standing right in front of her. After that meeting in the safe house, Sophia didn't leave. Not immediately. She stayed in the hallway for almost 20 minutes. I watched from the window. She wasn't crying. She wasn't angry. She was thinking. That was always Sophia's way. When emotions became overwhelming, she turned them into a problem to solve. A case, puzzle, something she could analyze. But this time, the evidence was pointing toward herself. The next morning, she requested every file related to my undercover operation. Every interview, every report, every communication log. She went through everything. And slowly, the woman who had once built the case against me started tearing it apart. The first thing she found was a report from 6 months before my identity was exposed. A psychological evaluation, written by Sophia herself. She stared at the screen, because one sentence stood out. Agent Black demonstrates exceptional loyalty and emotional stability under extreme pressure. She read it again, then again, because she remembered writing those words. She remembered believing them. So what changed? How did the same man become dangerous overnight? The answer was simple. Nothing changed. Only the story she was given changed. She found another file, a mission report, one she had never seen. It described a night when my cover was almost exposed. Sophia remembered that night, because I came home 3 days late. She remembered being angry. She remembered saying, "You always disappear when I need you." And she remembered me standing there silently, not explaining, not defending myself, just apologizing. At the time, she thought I didn't care, but the report told a different story. I had disappeared because I was protecting her. The criminals had discovered someone close to me. They were watching my family, so I stayed away, to keep them away from her. Sophia closed the file. Her hands were shaking, because for years, she had mistaken sacrifice for indifference. Then she found something else. My personal phone backup, the one recovered after the mission. Sophia hesitated before opening it. She knew she was crossing a line, but she also knew something else. There were secrets inside. Secrets I never got the chance to explain. The first folder contained photos, not classified documents, not mission information, photos of her. Sophia stared. There was one from their first anniversary, one from the hospital after she worked 70 hours straight, one from a random Tuesday morning when she was drinking coffee before work. She whispered, "Why did you keep these?" Nobody answered. Then she saw the folder name. 3 words. Simple. Personal. Sophia's future. Her breathing stopped. Inside were documents, plans, notes, ideas. The future I had imagined with her. A house near the ocean because she once said she loved the sound of waves. A vacation plan because she always complained she never had time to rest. A list of restaurants she wanted to try. A note about a book she mentioned only once. I remembered everything. At the bottom was a video, recorded 2 weeks before my final mission. Sophia stared at the screen for several seconds before pressing play. My face appeared, tired, unshaven, probably after another 16-hour day. But I was smiling, the way I only smiled around her. "If you're watching this," I paused, then looked away from the camera. "If you're watching this, probably means I didn't come home." Sophia covered her mouth. "No." My voice continued. "I know I don't say this enough." A small smile appeared. "But you are the best thing that ever happened to me." Sophia closed her eyes. Tears finally fell. Not the controlled tears. Not the quiet ones. Real tears. The kind she had spent months refusing to show. "I wanted to give you a normal life." My voice came from the phone. "You deserve one." A pause. "Even if I can't be part of it." Sophia shook her head. "No." Because now she understood. The man she thought was hiding things from her, was preparing a life for her. The man she thought didn't trust her, was protecting her. The man she believed had betrayed the FBI, had spent his entire life protecting people, including her. The door behind her opened. She quickly wiped her face. Victor Hale walked in, calm, perfectly dressed, the same gentle expression he always wore. "Sophia." She turned. For the first time, she didn't see her mentor. She saw a suspect. "Victor." Her voice was different. He noticed. Of course he noticed. Victor noticed everything. "Are you okay?" Sophia stared at him, then slowly asked, "Why did you never tell me Ethan had a contingency file?" For the first time, Victor paused, only for a second, but Sophia saw it, because she was an expert at reading people. And that tiny pause was the first crack in his mask. "I didn't think you were ready," Victor answered, smooth, controlled, almost believable, almost. But Sophia wasn't the same person anymore, because she had finally discovered something. The man she trusted had given her evidence, but the man she loved had given her everything. That night, Sophia opened one final file, a hidden message attached to my phone backup. The sender was unknown. The timestamp was 3 days before my disappearance. The message contained only one sentence. "Ask Victor why Ethan was never supposed to survive." Sophia stared at the screen, and for the first time, she wasn't afraid of what she might discover. She was afraid of what she already knew. The hardest thing I ever had to do was not surviving. It was walking away from the woman I survived for. Before everything happened, I thought losing Sophia would be the thing that destroyed me. I was wrong. Losing her hurt, but losing myself hurt more. For years, I believed love meant sacrifice. It meant staying quiet. It meant carrying the pain alone. It meant protecting someone even when they didn't understand why. But after everything, I finally learned something. A person can love you deeply and still break you. Sophia started showing up at the safe house almost every day. First, she came with questions. Then she came with evidence. Then, she came without either. She just came, like she was trying to prove something. Maybe to me, maybe to herself. One afternoon, I found her sitting outside the training facility. She was holding 2 coffees. One black, one with a little cream. Mine. She still remembered. Of course she did. That was the problem. Sophia remembered everything, just not when it mattered most. You don't have to keep doing this. I stopped in front of her. She looked up. I know. Then why are you here? She looked down at the coffee cup. For a few seconds, she didn't answer. Then she said, because I don't know how to fix what I broke. That was the first honest thing she had said to me in months. And somehow, it hurt more. I sat down across from her, not beside her, across. She noticed. I saw it, that tiny change. Before, there was no distance between us. Now there was a table, a chair, a space I couldn't cross. I watched the video. Her voice became quiet. The one you left. I looked away. I shouldn't have. No. She shook her head. I needed to. A pause. You were planning our future. I said nothing. You were preparing a life for me. Still nothing. And I was preparing a case against you. Her eyes filled with tears. I was wrong. The words were simple, but I knew how difficult they were for Sophia, because admitting mistakes was never easy for her, especially when the mistake was herself. I should have asked you. She looked at me. I should have trusted you. A long silence. I should have known you. That sentence almost broke something inside me, because that was the part that hurt. Not that she made a mistake. Everyone makes mistakes. But she knew me. She knew my heart. She knew the kind of man I was. And still, she believed the worst. Sophia. She looked up. I don't hate you. Her lips trembled. Then why won't you come home? There it was. The question I knew was coming. The question I wasn't ready to answer. Because the truth was simple. I still loved her. I never stopped. That was the most painful part. If I hated her, leaving would have been easy. But love wasn't the problem. Trust was. I miss you, she whispered. I closed my eyes. Because I missed her too. I missed waking up next to her. I missed hearing her complain about my terrible cooking. I missed the way she stole my jackets and pretended she didn't. I missed the woman she was before all of this. I miss you too. Her eyes widened. Hope appeared for a second. Then I continued. But I can't go back. The hope disappeared. Her voice cracked. Because the man who came home every night and waited for you to believe him. I looked at her. He's gone. She shook her head. No, Ethan. Yes. My voice stayed calm. But not because I died. A pause. Because I finally understood something. I stood up. I spent 8 years pretending to be someone else. Then I spent 7 years trying to be the perfect husband. I looked at the woman I loved. And somewhere in between, I forgot how to be myself. Sophia wiped her tears. I want to help you. I know. Then let me. I smiled sadly. That's the problem. She frowned. What? You still think this is something you can fix? She froze. Because she understood. This wasn't a case. It wasn't evidence. It wasn't a problem she could solve with enough analysis. It was a wound. And wounds don't disappear because someone finally notices them. That night, Director Hayes called me. We found another connection. I grabbed my jacket. Victor. A pause. Yes. My expression changed. What did you find? Hayes lowered his voice. Something that proves Victor wasn't just manipulating Sophia. A pause. He was planning this long before your identity was exposed. I looked through the window. Sophia was still outside, waiting, for the first time in years. Someone was waiting for me, but this time, I wasn't running toward her, because I finally understood. Sometimes the hardest person to leave is the person you still love. The most dangerous people I have ever met were never the ones holding weapons. They were the ones who convinced you they were protecting you. Victor Hale spent 30 years building a reputation. A respected FBI consultant, a brilliant psychologist, a mentor who helped young agents become better investigators. People trusted him because he gave them reasons to. That was his greatest weapon. Not fear, not violence, trust. The investigation took 14 days. 14 days of digging through hidden accounts, encrypted messages, old case files, and every single piece of evidence led back to one person, Victor Hale. When Director Hayes showed me the final report, he didn't say anything at first. He just placed it on the table. I opened it. The first page was enough. A list of names, payments, connections, dates, years of manipulation. Victor wasn't reacting to my identity leak. He had been planning it. For months, maybe years. He didn't just want you exposed. Hayes looked at me. He wanted you discredited first. I stared at the documents, because that was the part that made Victor different. A normal enemy wants you dead. Victor wanted everyone to believe your death was deserved. The public hearing was packed. FBI officials, investigators, reporters, everyone wanted answers, especially after the truth came out. The agent everyone thought was a traitor was actually the agent who had spent 8 years undercover. Victor sat across the room, calm, relaxed, almost amused. Even now, even after everything, he still looked like the most reasonable person there. That was Victor. The mask wasn't something he wore. The mask was who everyone believed he was. Sophia sat at the witness table. She looked different, not broken, not weak, just tired, like someone who had spent weeks fighting against a truth she didn't want to accept. The prosecutor asked, "Dr. Carter, you were the person who submitted the original assessment regarding Agent Black." Sophia swallowed. "Yes. And you believed your assessment was accurate." Silence. Everyone watched her. Finally, she answered, "Yes." The room became quiet. Then the prosecutor asked the question everyone was waiting for. "Do you still believe Ethan Black was dangerous?" Sophia looked at me, just for a second. Then she looked back. "No." Her voice was barely above a whisper. "No, I don't." A reporter raised a hand. "So, Agent Carter, are you saying you were wrong?" Sophia closed her eyes, and when she opened them again, she wasn't the FBI profiler. She wasn't the expert. She wasn't the woman who always had the answer. She was just Sophia, the woman who hurt the person she loved, the person who destroyed Ethan's life. Her voice shook. Everyone leaned forward. Wasn't Victor Hale. A pause. "It was me." The room exploded. Questions, cameras, voices. But Sophia didn't stop. I had access to the truth. She looked down. I had years of knowing who Ethan was. Her fingers tightened, and I still chose to believe someone else. Victor finally moved, only slightly, but I noticed, because after everything, I still knew how he reacted. He wasn't angry. He wasn't scared. He was calculating. "You see," Victor suddenly spoke, his voice calm. "That is exactly why Sophia trusted me." Everyone turned. Victor smiled. "Because she understands human behavior." He looked at me. "She saw what you became." I almost laughed. Not because it was funny, because even now, he was still trying, still manipulating, still pretending. "You know what your biggest mistake was, Victor?" He looked at me. "You thought Sophia trusted you because you were convincing." A pause. "She trusted you because she wanted to believe she was right." For the first time, Victor's expression changed. Barely, but enough. Sophia looked at him, and I watched something break inside her. Not fear, not anger, recognition. She finally saw the truth. Victor didn't understand people better than her. He understood her, and he used that. The evidence continued. Every lie, every manipulated report, every conversation, everything Victor had carefully built over years, collapsed in a single afternoon. After the hearing ended, Victor was taken away. He passed by me. For a moment, we stood face to face. The man who tried to erase my life, and the man who survived it. "You think you won?" Victor whispered. I looked at him. "No." He frowned. "Then what?" I answered. "I think you finally became who you always were." For once, Victor had no response. Later that night, Sophia found me outside the building. She didn't say anything. Neither did I. The silence between us was different now. Before, it was filled with things we couldn't say. Now, it was filled with things we finally understood. "Ethan." I looked at her. I know saying sorry isn't enough. I didn't answer, because she was right. It wasn't. "I know I can't erase what I did." Her eyes became red. "But I need you to know. She stopped, took a breath. I was wrong. I looked at the woman standing in front of me, the woman I once promised forever, the woman who almost destroyed me, and the strange thing was, I didn't feel hatred, only sadness, because Victor lost everything today. His career, his reputation, his freedom, but Sophia lost something much harder. She lost the version of me who would have forgiven anything, and she didn't know yet that I was about to make the one choice she least expected, because Victor had taken everything from me, and I finally had the power to destroy him. The only question was, would I become the same kind of monster he was? Everyone expected me to destroy Victor Hale, and honestly, I understood why. If anyone deserved revenge, it was me. He took 8 years of my life. He destroyed my career. He turned my wife against me. He made the world believe I was a traitor. And for a while, I wanted him to suffer. I wanted him to feel what I felt. The fear, the helplessness, the moment when someone you trusted completely chose someone else's words over yours. I wanted Victor to understand what it was like to lose everything overnight. Then I realized something. That was exactly what Victor wanted. Not my death, not even my failure. He wanted me angry. He wanted me broken. Because broken people make mistakes. Broken people become easy to control. The final interview with Victor was scheduled 3 days after his arrest. The FBI wanted information, names, contacts, the remaining members of the organization. I was there because I was the only person who could make him talk. Victor sat across from me. No handcuffs, no arrogance. Just an old man sitting in a gray interrogation room. Almost ordinary. That was the terrifying part. After everything, he still looked harmless. You know what I find interesting about you, Ethan? I didn't answer. Victor smiled. You hate me. A pause. But you don't want to admit it. I leaned back. I don't hate you. That surprised him. Only for a second. You should. No. I looked at him. Because hatred means you still control something inside me. For the first time, Victor looked genuinely confused. You took everything from me. I continued. But you don't get to decide who I become afterward. Silence. The room was completely quiet. Because Victor understood. He spent his entire life manipulating people's emotions. But he couldn't manipulate someone who had already accepted his pain. You think forgiveness makes you stronger? Victor asked. No. I shook my head. Forgiveness has nothing to do with you. A pause. It's about me. After the interview ended, Sophia was waiting outside. She had heard everything. Of course she had. She always knew how to find the truth. The problem was, she had found it too late. You let him go. Her voice was quiet. I looked at her. No. She frowned. He destroyed your life. I know. Then why? I looked through the glass window. Victor was still sitting inside, waiting, probably wondering if he had won. He hadn't, because if I spend the rest of my life trying to hurt him. I paused. Then he still owns a part of me. Sophia looked down. I don't know how you can do that. Do what? Still be kind. I almost smiled, because that was the one thing everyone misunderstood. Kindness wasn't weakness. It wasn't forgetting. It wasn't pretending nothing happened. I didn't forgive him because what he did was okay. I looked at her. I forgave him because I refused to become him. Her eyes filled with tears, not because she was sad, because she finally understood. The man she almost lost was never weak. He was stronger than everyone who hurt him. That night, I returned to my apartment, the first place I had lived alone in years. No wedding photos, no shared memories, no reminders, just silence. And for the first time, the silence didn't hurt. My phone rang. Director Hayes, we have one more thing. I answered. What? A pause. We found the person who helped Victor create the false evidence against you. My expression changed. Who? Hayes didn't answer immediately. Then he said, Ethan, you're not going to like this. I stood still, because after everything was over, I thought the worst part had already happened. I was wrong. Because sometimes the final truth isn't about the person who betrayed you. It's about the person who helped them. And this time, the answer was closer than I ever imagined. The hardest goodbye isn't when someone leaves. It's when they stay. But the person you loved is no longer there. 6 months after Victor Hale's arrest, my life finally became quiet. No undercover missions. No fake identities. No pretending to be someone I wasn't. For the first time in years, I woke up every morning knowing exactly who I was. And surprisingly, I liked that person. I returned to the FBI. Not as Ghost. Not as the man criminals feared. Just Ethan Black. An agent. A husband once. A survivor. Sophia noticed the difference. Everyone did. The old Ethan was always looking for the next danger. The next person to protect. The next sacrifice to make. The new Ethan finally allowed himself to live. She saw it at the ceremony. The one where my name was cleared. The same place where months earlier, everyone believed I was a traitor. Sophia stood in the crowd, watching, but this time, she wasn't looking at a broken man. She was looking at someone who had moved forward without her. After the ceremony, she found me outside. Ethan. I stopped. For a moment, neither of us spoke. The strange thing was, the silence didn't hurt anymore. You look different. I smiled slightly. So do you. She looked down. I don't know if that's a compliment. It is. A pause. You look like someone who finally stopped carrying the world alone. Her eyes became red. Because she knew. She was part of the reason I carried that weight. I've been thinking about what you said. What did I say? That you forgot how to be yourself. She swallowed. I think. She stopped. I think I forgot who you were. I didn't answer. Because she was right. But some truths arrive too late. I want another chance. The words came quietly. But they carried everything. 7 years. Every memory. Every regret. Every apology she never said. I looked at her. And for a second, I saw the woman I married. The woman who used to fall asleep on my shoulder while watching movies. The woman who held my hand before every dangerous mission. The woman who once whispered, "Promise you'll come back. I still love you." Her voice broke. I never stopped. I closed my eyes. Because those words were exactly what I wanted to hear. Just not anymore. Sophia. She looked at me. I love you too. Her breathing stopped. Hope appeared. But then I continued. And that's why this hurts. The hope faded. If I didn't love you, I looked away. Leaving would have been easy. She cried silently. I know I can't erase what happened. No, I said softly. You can't. She reached into her bag. Then took something out. My wedding ring. The one I thought I would never see again. I found it in the safe deposit box. She held it toward me. You kept yours. I looked down. The ring I had carried through everything. The missions. The betrayal. The pain. I kept it because of a promise. Sophia looked at me. I took the ring from her hand. Not putting it back on. Just holding it. I kept it to remember my commitment. A pause. Not because I was waiting. The tears finally fell from her eyes. Because she understood. The ring was never the problem. The love was never the problem. The waiting was. I thought if I proved I was sorry. She whispered. You would come back. I looked at her. You were trying to get back the old Ethan. A pause. But he's gone. She shook her head. No. Her voice trembled. He's still there. I smiled sadly. Maybe. I looked at the woman I once planned my entire future around. I hope you find peace. Sophia. Her face changed. Because she knew. That wasn't a promise. It was goodbye. That night, I placed the wedding ring inside a small box. Not because I hated it. Not because I hated her. But because some chapters deserve to be remembered. Not repeated. The next morning, I received an envelope. No sender. No address. Only my name. Inside was a single letter. And the handwriting made my heart stop. Because after everything, there was only one person who could have written it. Sophia. I opened the first page. And read the first sentence. Then I realized. This wasn't an apology. It was something I never expected. The last letter Sophia ever received from me wasn't a goodbye. At least, that's not how I wrote it. It was a thank you. Victor Hale was sentenced 3 months later. The investigation exposed everything. The fake evidence. The manipulated reports. The years of planning. The man everyone trusted became the man nobody could defend. But strangely, when it was finally over, I didn't feel victorious. I thought I would. For months, I imagined the moment Victor lost everything. I imagined feeling satisfied, relieved, maybe even happy. But when I watched him being taken away, I only felt tired, because revenge could punish someone, but it couldn't give me back the time I lost. My name was officially cleared. The FBI restored my position. The world finally knew the truth. Ethan Black wasn't a traitor. He was the agent who had been protecting everyone from the shadows. But there was one thing I never got back: the person I was before. And maybe that was okay, because that person spent his entire life proving he was worth loving. The person I became finally understood. I didn't have to earn that. Sophia never stopped trying to apologize. But eventually, she stopped asking me to come back. That was when I knew she finally understood. Love wasn't about forcing someone to return. Sometimes love meant accepting the consequences of your choices. A few weeks later, she sent me the letter, the one I found waiting on my desk. My name was written on the envelope. Nothing else. No explanation. No request. Just my name. I opened it. The handwriting was familiar. The same handwriting that used to leave notes beside my coffee every morning. The same handwriting that once wrote, "Come home safe." The letter was short, only a few pages, but I read every word. Ethan, I don't know if I deserve your forgiveness. Maybe I don't. I spent my entire career learning how to recognize lies. But the biggest lie I ever believed was that I knew you better than anyone. I was wrong. You weren't hiding from me. You were protecting me. You weren't keeping secrets because you didn't trust me. You kept them because you loved me. I stopped reading for a moment, because even after everything, those words still mattered. The letter continued. I used to think losing you was the worst thing that happened to me, but I finally understand. The worst thing was realizing I was the person who pushed you away. I looked out the window. For years, I had waited for Sophia to understand me, to see the sacrifices, the pain, the love behind all the silence. And now she finally did, just later than either of us wanted. The last paragraph was the hardest. Ethan, if there is one thing I want you to know, it's that I am grateful, not because you forgave me, but because even after everything I did, you never became cruel. You never became the monster they wanted you to become. You stayed yourself. And I hope one day I can become someone worthy of the man you were. I folded the letter carefully, then placed it beside the small box, the box containing my wedding ring. For years, I thought that ring represented a promise. Promise that I would always come back. Promise that I would always protect her. Promise that love meant staying. But I finally understood something. A promise to someone else should never require breaking the promise you made to yourself. I kept the ring, not because I was waiting, not because I hoped time would erase everything. I kept it because it was part of my story. A story that changed me. A story that hurt me. A story that taught me how to love, without losing myself. The last time I saw Sophia, we didn't cry. We didn't argue. We didn't ask for another chance. She simply looked at me and smiled. A sad smile. Peaceful one. "Are you happy?" she asked. I thought about it. Then I answered honestly, yes. Her eyes became wet, but she smiled. "I'm glad." And that was how we said goodbye. Not because the love disappeared, but because sometimes two people can love each other deeply and still be unable to return to the place where everything broke. Years later, people would ask me if I regretted loving Sophia Carter. My answer was always the same. No, because she gave me 7 beautiful years, because she showed me what love could feel like, and because losing her taught me something even more important. The person who loves you should never be the reason you lose yourself. And sometimes, the greatest act of love isn't holding on. It's finally letting go. The end.